Hey there, everybody. We're live again. Hope you're here with us on a Friday. I have a question for you, and I posted this with the video. Do you ever have where you have a dream, a passion, you're getting ready to make some big change in your life, and you're super excited with it, you want to share it with everybody around you, you start to share it, and they do what we call fear bomb you. They start saying all the reasons why your big ideas aren't going to work, why it's not a bad, it's a bad idea, you shouldn't do it, or they're like, I don't know, maybe you need to reconsider it. What do you do? And this is something that I wanted to talk with you guys tonight. And I have Conchetta here with me. If you were here last week, my name is Erica Bowling. I am the owner and founder of Northeast Canine Conditioning. This is only our second episode. We're wanting to do these. I'm looking at every week on Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I wanted to talk about different topics related to starting up or expanding your canine business. But these topics aren't specifically just to canine business owners. You're probably going to find that you have other interests that's also going to relate to you. So the topic of today, it's very near and dear to my heart. I've been through it, and it's something I think will always be around in some degree or another. But I was just thinking about it the other day, and I thought, I need to talk about this. And I asked Conchetta, I said, Conchetta, has this happened to you? Have you been fear bombed where you've shared with excitement and passion and something you're really excited to do, and then somebody's like, no, I don't think you should do it. And they give you all the reasons why. Has that happened to you?
Yes, that's happened to me, Dr. Bowling, with colleagues, actually.
Yeah. We'll go in the details in just a second. All right, we're going to hold on the details. We're going to give people some examples. But you mentioned it's happened with colleagues. Sometimes it happens with people that, we don't know them, or maybe we don't like them, and that's not as significant. But when your family and your loved ones and your close friends and people who you really respect their opinion, when they start doing this and dropping all these fears, it's these fears they have that they basically are putting onto you, that can be very troubling. It makes you, I know for me, it can make you start to question. You can come in and be so certain and say, this is what I want to do. And they start doing this and, hitting you at all these different angles about why it's not a good idea. And next thing you know, you start to self-doubt and question everything you've been planning. And it could have been something you've been super certain about, right? Was it something, Conchetta, that you were, confident about?
Very confident about expanding technology coding programs within schools.
Yeah. And when these people come and they say, I don't think that's a good idea, did you feel a little bit kind of, wobbly in your confidence?
Yes, I just started second guessing myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Asking myself, should I do this? Maybe it's not for me.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's not a good place to be. And a lot of times we start to go in that place and that frame of mind. And there's not really a real good logical reason. It really plays with your emotions, your whole mental state. And that's so important when you're trying to do something new and challenging. So I plan to talk about this today. And I posed the question because I thought, I think other people would be interested in this topic. And so I asked Conchetta, I said, have you ever experienced this? And she shared a story with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, we've got to talk about this. So my examples, for example, it might be whether you're thinking about starting a new job. Oh, here's a great example. I'm a full-time professor, and my hobby and my passion is my dogs. It's canine fitness. And basically, my dog got injured. I started learning about how to keep them fit. I started studying and learning. And next thing I know, people started asking me to teach them what I was learning. And it was a very... the process just kind of emerged. It just kind of grew out of my interest and my passion. I never went out with the intention to say, I'm going to make money from this, or I'm going to start up a business. And, it's this passion, and it grew. And then you start building a business out of it. And then you start having bigger plans and grander ideas. And, I had people, question some of the things they might say, well, you don't really have time, or how are you going to manage time with us? Or they'll say, here's a great one. You can't, it's not smart to turn your passion into your business, because they say it's going to make it so that your passion, you don't like it anymore, right? So that's something that I've heard from some friends. But then I stop and I think, I know plenty of people that are doing things they love, and it's their career, they make money off of it. And, I would say right away, it might make me start to question, like, oh my gosh, if I start making money off of dogs, am I going to hate dogs? But you have to go back and kind of start looking at, we got to get more realistic and not be so emotional about it. And we have to recognize what's happening. So I chatted, I was chatting with Conchetta, and I jotted down some notes because I always start lists. I'm a list person. I started a list of things about, like, why do people do this? How do you respond? And how do you control your mind from just really making you start to self-doubt, or maybe even give up as things become challenging? So I'm going to go through a few of these, and these are tips and to be honest, these are tips and strategies. When I was going through a divorce and I was going through like marriage counseling, like these were things that could apply when it goes to work or your business or starting up a new career. So let me just, Conchetta, I'm going to give a couple things here that I want you to think about next time this happens, because it's probably going to happen again, I'm sure. So the first thing, and I think, how do you deal with this? And I think the first thing is, I want you to share your example. It's a very personal example, but I asked if you would be willing to share, and you said yeah, but I just wanted to, you don't have to, but are you willing to share with them the criticism, like what you shared and the response you got?
Yes. When I shared about my plans of building a coding program within my township, I received some criticism, and the criticism really revolved around my gender and also my race. So when I was talking to Dr. Bolin about it, I felt that this was the perfect example of fear bombing, and it did make me second guess if I really wanted to even move forward with my coding programs, simply because there's not a lot of females software engineers, and I'm currently enrolled in trying to become an engineer as well. Mm-hmm. So I received a lot of people, close colleagues at that, and I was very surprised. Colleagues that I believed in and trusted with my plans. Yeah. Do you remember the exact words they said? They said, you shouldn't do it. You're a female. You're probably not going to become a software engineer or gain a tech position if I wanted to be a developer in a company. You probably won't get that because a male might take your spot. So, and then it was the race on top of that. Yeah. Yeah. So. And thank you for sharing, because I mean, it's, these things are very personal, and when we hear them, they hit us in our gut, It does. Mm-hmm. And, so the first thing probably that happens is exactly, you start to doubt yourself, and you're probably thinking, here's something. If you were surrounded by successful people like you, right? And you see them in front of you and you're like, that's a joke, because I have these people around me. They're female, they're successful, they're minorities, they're of color, whatever, they're black, right? But do you have people around you, friends or people that are supporting you that are doing the very thing that you want to do? No. Yeah. So that's something to think about, because what happens is a lot of times they take those, it's their fears, their insecurities, their own issues, and it's like they throw it on you, right? Whatever it may be. And so one of the things is your first reaction is an emotional reaction, but then it might be, I bet, if you sat down, you started Googling, there's a lot of wonderful organizations out there, women, people in leadership, and, CEOs and support groups for, women who are starting up companies. There are groups of people out there active representing minority groups and stuff like that. So one of the things is, number one is, acknowledge you're having that emotional response, but then step back and say, well, wait a minute. Number one is this a valid, is there some truth to it? Well, we know there's not. I mean, yes, it could be more challenging, but is it impossible for you to succeed? No, because you can go and you'll find other people like you who have succeeded, right? So we need to kind of get out of that emotion and say, okay, well, wait a minute. Is this a valid concern? No, because there's people who have been successful that are like you, right? So throw it out. Another thing that you can do is you can say, one of mine was, dealing with, if somebody's leaving a job, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't, I'm going to lose my health care.
and this big fear. But then for me, what helps is when I go, is there some valid concern? Well, yes, there is a valid concern. I need to make more money to replace this. And then for me, when that fear hits me, if I sit down and actually look at the logistics, okay, how much does it mean? How much extra do I have to make? How am I going to make that extra money? Then I'm like, okay, it's a challenge, but I have a plan and I can overcome it, right? So for me, when I notice I have that fear, sometimes there's a little bit of truth in the fear. There's something in there, because if I have a really strong reaction, it's either my own insecurities, or it might be that there might be a little bit of truth that, yeah, well, did I think about that extra money? Is it more than I think I need to make to, supplement my income? And I find, taking the reality, the logistics, and looking at the numbers, setting a plan. Okay, this is a challenge. What am I going to do to get over it? Those are some things that help me get my confidence back, right? Yeah. Get a plan. Say, all right, well, I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to overcome that challenge. If it's not a real challenge, then you just got to ignore it and be like, you know what, that's not valid. I know it's not true, right? So one of the things I have here on my my list is number one, when you have these fear bombs, when you have people throwing these at you, is to recognize that that's what it is, and to realize a lot of times it's their fears. It's things that they're dealing, maybe it's, if I'm talking with somebody and they're like, I can't, I don't recommend doing that because of blah, blah, blah. Well, it's a woman who's married and she has kids, and her situation is very different from mine. Her fears and concerns, those are her fears and concerns, those aren't mine. And so a lot of times it's just, their concerns going on. So, so I see here, Joseph joined us. Thank you, Joseph. He said, I've heard that one before. I think a lot of people can relate to this. I see Catherine here. Thank you. Kate joined us. Thank you. So if you guys have experienced this before, put something in the chat there. Joseph said there's no sound, but looks like people can hear, but I do see your notes are coming up, but I see definitely some of you have experienced this before. So, let us know, because those examples are important ones. So Angie says she can completely relate to that when she decided to leave a 25-year career law firm, right? Yeah, the health insurance, that's a big one. And for me, it was like, oh my God, how could you ever leave a job that has blah, blah, blah? Because it was this big, scary thing. But then when you sit down and start working out the logistics, you start doing research to see, okay, how much is it going to cost? How much extra do I have to make a month? What else? It's getting the plan. Okay. You hear that, Conchetta?
Yes.
So I find going into action, right? So recognizing, sometimes stop and recognize, is there some validity? Is there a little bit of validity to that? If there is some validity, you need to say, okay, well, how am I going to deal with this? What can I do? If that's a hurdle, if that's something that I need to work with, set a plan, right? Get it away from it emotionally and say, is it a valid concern? Is it their concern? Is it their issue, their fear? Is it you're a different person. And a lot of times it's like, we have no reason to even pay attention. Another thing I have here is, this is really important. And I know this, and I don't always follow it. All right, ready? Okay. You have to be very careful when you're on this journey, especially in the beginning. Be careful who you share this with, okay? And I know this, but sometimes you get so excited, right? Yep. You want to tell everybody, guess what I'm doing? Right? And yes. So you tell everybody because you're so excited and you want them to be excited for you. Okay. I've been there. Okay. But we do have to realize, especially if we're on the ground, we're just getting things going. We haven't quite gotten there. We may have some questions and our own insecurities. Be careful who you share these things with, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that when you're sharing, and you want to surround yourself with the people who are going to support you. All right. Now, you thought some of these acquaintances, you thought that they would be somebody who could support you, right? And it was something, I think, Conchetta, I have a frozen camera here on my side, but I know that for some of us, we share it and we think that that person's, of course, they're going to support us, and then we find out, oh, we dropped Conchetta. She'll be back. Sometimes I know that Conchetta shared with me that these are people that she thought were really supportive. And so what happens, I've done this, is you share it and you think somebody's going to be really excited and supportive, and then I realize they're starting to question and fear about me. So I have to stop and be, next time I'm going to be careful and not share so much. Oh, you're back, Conchetta. Did you hear my answer there? Yeah, check your audio.
Okay.
There you go. So, yeah. So, yes, Kate says, surround yourself with people that build you up, encourage you, stay away from the naysayers. And like I said, sometimes you don't know who the naysayers are going to be until those words are spoken. Okay. And especially if they're family, they're friends, people you respect. If you're like me, like you want to share, you want to share, you want their opinion, but you have to be careful, because to be successful, you got to have that confidence. You got to see the end goal, that you're going to be successful. If you can't see success for yourself, how's it going to happen, right? You have to see it. And so it's really important to surround yourself, right? And that's something I struggle with, because like I said, especially when it's people I respect, people I care about, I want them all to understand what I'm doing. I want them all to support me, and I want all their advice, and I want their advice to be in a way that's supportive. But that's not reality. Like every single it's just, it doesn't always happen that way. So, so here again, remember that it's their fears. Could be their insecurities. Like if somebody says, oh, I would never turn my passion for dogs into my full-time career because I think I'll just hate dog training, right? That's their fear. That's their fear, right? That's not my fear. That's something that maybe that's holding them back, or maybe their passion isn't as strong as the person who's doing it for a lifetime and they love it, okay? But just remember, it's their insecurities, their fears. It's coming from their perspective, not yours. And always, if you feel that kind of, you have a really strong reaction to it. For me, sometimes when I have a really strong reaction to it, it's because there's a little bit of truth in there, in the sense of it's showing that where my insecurity is. It's showing where I haven't answered all my questions yet. Okay, so that's where you do your research and your work. Do your research and see what other women out there are starting their own businesses successfully. What other groups of minorities out there where they're supporting each other? That's what you want, right? And then be careful who you share it with, and also they'll see they see things again as kind of they want it, and what they see for themselves, and their concerns are through their perspectives, not through yours. Some of the examples. Oh, here's another example. I've had people, because I have a full-time job, right? And I do this. I have my passion. I do my dog stuff. I have my dog business, and I have a lot of people. I just had 2 days ago somebody asked this. Well, how do you find the time for this? I mean, it's hard, but they're like, you can't juggle it. How can you, and they're like, I don't have time. I can't do it. And it's like, when you love it, when it's your passion, right? It doesn't, not always, a lot of times it doesn't feel like work. So again, it's when they're saying, oh, well, you can't have time to do everything. You can't make time to do that and this. Well, that's their perspective, and that's coming from them, right? They don't understand your passion and what you enjoy, right? It's a different thing. The other, a lot of examples I jotted down were, again, things about changing jobs, creating jobs, adding new things. I know some people there have canine businesses, and they're wanting to add a new component to their business. They want to add like a new program. And they're kind of nervous and wondering, is anybody going to purchase it? But if they go in, I find if their attitude, if they're confident, and so much of it is how you convey your emotions and your confidence to the people you talk with. So, when you get all wavery and all wobbly, that carries over. So you want to protect that as much as you can, right? And I'm looking here in the comments, and like I said, I see a couple people saying they've experienced the same thing. They've heard this before. We had Angie posting. Thank you, Angie. And Kate, Kate tried to catch us last week and missed us. So glad you can make it this time, Kate. And Carmen is in the Netherlands. Hopefully she'll watch the replay. But what are your thoughts about that, Conchetta?
Well, I think at this point I need to watch out for the vicarious conditioning in terms of once somebody else has those feelings or displays those feelings, I need to be careful as a future business owner or working on my business to not take in somebody else's doubts or fears, exactly what you were saying, and surrounding myself around positive people. I actually found that to be a little bit of a struggle. Because everybody doesn't share the same interests with me in terms of the web development, coding, and a lot of times I feel like I just want to talk about it, and I'm so excited to just talk about web development and how to design apps, but other people do not share that same passion, and then sometimes they'll just go and say, well, you don't need to do that. Let other people work on that. But I'm like, but I do want to do it, so I have to be careful not to take in those other feelings from outsiders.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to look for those communities. A perfect example, this just happened to a friend of mine today. In the dog training community, there's many different camps. There's many perspectives. And, if you don't take one perspective, you can be attacked by the other perspective. Mm. And what happens is I can choose to, and I've had it where people have gone and they're like, oh, I can't, and they'll be opposing a way I train or whatever. And they'll post stuff and they don't even know me and they're posting negative stuff. Mm. So I can choose to engage in conversation and get upset and make them, make me get upset or angry. Or number one, whose voice is that? Well, it's somebody I don't know. It's somebody, it doesn't matter. I'm not planning on, it's not like somebody who's going to be a partner with me in business. It's not somebody that's a friend or family member. Number one is, who is that person? Does their voice matter? For me, the people, my friends, my supporters, my followers, my family, their voices matter. I listen to them. But number one, is it somebody do I even know this person? Does it even matter to me what they're saying? And also, what are they saying? Is it something positive that's going to lift me up? As Kate said, is it somebody's going to bring you down? And I choose to just, I don't even, I'll block them. I'll ignore it. Sometimes if I know something's going on, like I won't even go and read it because it's like, this does not help me. This does not help me in any way at all. It doesn't help me. So I can either ignore it, not even read it. If I can block them, if I can get out of that, wherever that discussion's happening, walk out of the room, whatever, dismiss myself, so that's definitely a challenge. And then finding the community, right? Finding the community, but they're out there. Okay. The internet is an amazing thing.
It is.
And most of them, where my biggest supporters are that have helped me so much in growing my business. They're all online. I'm going to meet some of them for the first time in about 2 weeks. A year later, people supporting me and helping my business grow, and partners. And there's every week we meet. Every week on Wednesdays we meet online, and they're an amazing, amazing support group. They help me envision great things for myself. They support me. It's a positive community. It's 100% online, and I benefit so much. It took me a while to find them, but they're there. They're out there. I promise, they're out there. So don't give up. Don't give up. So I'm just looking to see if we got any questions or any more comments. If you are watching the replay, I will be going back and I'll be posting. I'll answer any questions. This is a big topic because, like I said, it's in so many areas of our lives. It's so many areas of our lives, relationships. If significant others. careers, family, whatever. It's a topic that's so, it covers many areas. So would love to hear your voice. If this is something that relates to you, how do you deal with it? If you want to give us some examples, that would be great. And then also, I'm going to throw in here for people, because it's very challenging to start things up on your own. It's very challenging to go through this process. Building the business, there's so many moving parts, as we said last time. And I have a short, it's a quiz, and it's related. You could be dog related, non-dog related, but it's basically a quiz if you want to learn about what are some of these components and where are you in your areas of strengths and possible weaknesses where you want to, enhance yourself and gain more knowledge about these various multiple aspects of building up a business, expanding a business, being an entrepreneur, and dealing with, the mental challenges, the emotional challenges, and also the strategies of how you put this all together. So I'm going to put it, it's just a link I'm throwing. If it's a short quiz, it takes maybe 4 minutes to do, and it'll email a response back to you. You can qualify for complimentary one-on-one coaching session for that. But it's a great way just to read the questions and see where you fall. And so I just put that there in the chat box and the discussion area. So I think we're going to wrap it up. Was that helpful, Conchetta?
Very helpful, Dr.
Yeah.
Bowman. Thank you.
And next time, if you can, if you know that you didn't know it was coming, you didn't know it was going to come out of their mouths, but now be careful.
Careful.
Right?
Yeah.
Watch what you say and who you say it to, who you share it with, and start, aggressively looking around and finding that community. Because I promise, once you find that community to support you, it can really transform everything. Everything.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We're planning to be here next Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And would love to hear you and see you there. So feel free to share this, do the share button, reply, comment, watch the replay. I'll go in and I'll answer any questions you might have. And I will see you guys soon. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.